G'day guys, this is Tyrone and welcome back to another Fallout 76 PTS video. The day has finally arrived where we can check out all the new stuff that Bethesda is cooking up for this game. And in this video we will be focusing on the legendary effect balance changes they have made, and there surprisingly is quite a lot of them. We will be seeing all the buffs that they have made to existing legendary effects, as well as having a look at the new legendary effects that have been added into the game. I am covering this for the express purpose of giving feedback to Bethesda so that they may make additional changes for the betterment of the game. Let's get into it. So for starters, let's take a look at all the brand new legendary effects Bethesda is potentially adding into the game. We'll be starting with the new legendary weapon effects. Firstly, we have the first star legendary prefix effects, and first on the list is Aristocrats. What this essentially does is increase your damage with more caps you are holding on your character. As you can see here, if you have 29,000 caps or more, you will gain 50% extra damage, which is very nice. I like the spin they took here. Although it is a weird concept, it does diversify playstyles since it is on the same level as junkies, but it basically has no downsides. So I can see this being a commonly used legendary effect used by full health builds, as all you need to do is ensure you are holding 29,000 caps on your person to get that extra damage. In all honesty, I think this is a little too rewarding. I'll mention why later on when we cover a different legendary effect, but yeah, in my opinion, this trumps the need for other full health orientated damage legendary effects, so it may need further balancing. Next we have the Juggernaut legendary effect. Now this is an amazing legendary effect. I'm so happy Bethesda added this. If some of you might remember, I have suggested this exact effect, but as a legendary perk card. There may be no correlation, but still cool to see nonetheless. Anyways, what this does is basically it acts as an opposite to Bloodied, where the Bloodied effect will increase your damage the lower your health gets. This will increase your damage the higher your health gets, up to a maximum of 25% extra damage if your health is above 95%, for obvious reasons. And while this is a fantastic concept and a welcomed effect, I feel it is too underpowered. I feel like it needs more oomph and should grant more damage. I feel like it should grant a maximum of 50% damage while above 95% health, or maybe more. For the reason being, it is outmatched by junkies, anti-armor, the aristocrats effect, and others, since you can use all of those other stated legendary effects at full health and get more of a damage bonus than this effect that is purely meant to be used at full health. I don't know, I'm sure some of you can understand the logic there, because this is purely meant to be used by full health builds, and it yields less damage than other things that can be used no matter what your health level's at. It definitely needs a buff. I don't know, maybe we should even get as much as an extra 60% damage bonus for being above 95% health, as it is tricky to stay above that in an active firefight. But overall, this is an amazing legendary effect, and like I said, a welcomed addition as it finally gives full health builds the kick they've been hoping for. Next we have Heavyweight. This is another strange effect that actually doesn't have any details at the moment, although from the files we can gather that the intended effect is to give roughly 50% extra damage while you are exceeding 350 pounds in your carry weight capacity, which is a wildly bizarre choice in my opinion. I'm not sure why anyone would go out of their way to meet the requirements of this effect to use it for a build when there are other options out there, but hey, I'm not going to say no to more diversity in the game, so I guess yeah, maybe this will be improved and explained, maybe not, maybe it will be a huge flop. Either way, bring on the over-encumbered builds, I guess. Then next up we have the Gourmand's legendary effect. This one's interesting. It appears Bethesda are making food builds an actual thing, so to all the dickhead PvPers that like to use that as an insult, you may want to rethink that because food builds are on the up and coming. You'll see why I say that when we get to the armor section of this video, but anyways, this effect increases your damage up to a maximum of 24% if you are fully satiated and have fully satisfied your hunger and thirst levels, which I think is actually a really cool gimmick. I'm definitely going to be making a proper build around this concept. But anyways, it is only an extra 24% damage bonus, which is kind of strange since the theme so far has been that 50% bonus standard for things like the aristocrats and the heavyweight effects. In my opinion, either the aristocrats effect should be brought down to this level, or the gourmand effect should be increased to 50%, because I see no reason why the aristocrats effect should be so much more powerful than the gourmand effect. They are both strange gimmicky damage bonuses that should be on par with each other. But anyways, it's a cool concept, but with most of these the numbers need balancing. But anyways, in my opinion, I see no damage between something like this and the aristocrats. Why does Aristocrats get a 50% damage bonus and this only gets 24%? I feel they should be on par. Either one needs to be nerfed or the other needs to be brought up. Now we move on to the second star legendary effects. First up is something called Last Shot, which is a very interesting concept. Basically, it grants a 25% chance for your final shot in the magazine to do double damage, which I'm all for. I love stuff like this. I can see this being very useful on certain weapons with low ammo consumption, like the double barrel shotgun for example. Now obviously, this would kind of be useless on weapons like the Gatling laser. Basically any weapon with low base damage and a large magazine is not the type of weapon you'd want for this effect. And there's a note here that this effect will not spawn on weapons that have a 1-round magazine. So no black powdered weapons, no grenade launchers, etc, etc. Now, I like this effect a lot and I can see its potential. However, the 25% chance to proc is kind of small. That's a 1 in 4 chance that your last bullet will do double damage. Maybe it could be increased to 33% or something like that to be a 1 in 3. I don't know, I just feel like it should be more of a constant thing. Next up we have Steady. This grants 25% extra damage while standing still, which I like a lot. It's kind of the weapon version of the Sentinel's armor effect, and I'm all for it. I can see this working tremendously well for sniper builds or heavy gunner builds, maybe even melee builds, who knows. I got nothing else to really say on this one, it's got my seal of approval and I can't wait for this one to be added. Then we have another new effect called Inertial, which grants 15 action points back upon each kill you get, which is fucking amazing. This allows us to have such a steady flow of action points for certain weapons and allows VATS users to stay in the fight more than they already can. I definitely want this on my unarmed build's Power Fist. I'll happily replace my faster swing speed for this effect any day of the week. Also, it's important to note that this will be especially potent on weapons that already cost a small amount of AP per shot, like the Fixer rifle. With this effect, you would effectively not consume any AP so long as you are getting kills, so I like this. Then finally, we have the new 3rd star effects. First up is called Ghosts. This effect grants you a 10% chance to generate a stealth field every time you attack an enemy. In my opinion, this is just a filler effect and is very uninspired. Don't really care for it. Moving on. And one final bonus legendary effect that wasn't on the list is the Durable effect. Previously, this was only able to spawn on armor, but now it can also spawn on weapons. It just simply makes your weapons 50% harder to break. A nice touch, but also uninspired. That is all of the new legendary weapon effects. Now let's take a look at the new armor legendary effects. And yes, to answer any questions about this topic, all of these can be applied to power armor as well as regular armor. Let's start off with the new 1st star prefixes. Firstly, we have the armor version of Aristocrats, which will grant 20 damage and energy resistance for regular armor and 35 for power armor, if you're holding upwards of 29,000 caps. Now again, this is just a bit gimmicky. I don't really have an opinion on it besides the fact being that it's a bit strange for this effect to be more potent on power armor. I mean, they are already tanky enough, I don't see the reason for that being a thing. But anyway, this is just a different versions of Vanguards and bolstering, I guess, for different prefixes. Sure, why not? Then next up we have Heavyweight. Again, they give no description on how this will function just yet for regular armor, but on the power armor side of things they do state that while you are exceeding 350 pounds, you will gain 35 damage and energy resistance, which again is a weird concept, but hey, bring on the over-encumbered builds, like I said before, let's do it mate. And here we are, lastly for the 1st stars is the Overaiders Legendary effect. And this might just be the new single most powerful 1st star effect of them all. By simply having fully satiated hunger and thirst, you will gain 6% damage reduction to all incoming damage, which is just incredibly powerful. There's nothing else in the game that grants that much protection for something as trivial as just being fully satiated. And to just put this into perspective, if you get this effect on all 5 pieces of your armor, if you get a full set of it, that is a 30% damage reduction, just for being fully satiated with your hunger and thirst. Yeah, combine that with a full set of Sentinels and you are tanky as fuck. But if you go a step further and also manage to get lucky enough to get that full set of Overaiders Sentinels on power armor, for that natural 42% damage reduction as well as with emergency protocols, and all the damage reduction perks in the game, you can see how this can spiral out of control and you can be literally unkillable. Honestly, I love the concept of this, I love the concept of using food buffs to become a food build tank, but this is just too much and needs to be toned down or changed in some fashion. Either that or convert all the other legendary effects into percentage based defenses as well. Because we all know this, gaining extra DR, damage resistance, is woefully less powerful than gaining straight up percentage based damage negation. I think Bethesda adding this effect sets a worrisome precedence and makes me think that they don't actually take all other armor effects into account. Because if you just compare this to something like Vanguard's, this blows that out of the water. This is way more powerful and you can become way more tanky. In conclusion, for this one, it's very powerful and will be a game changer for tank builds if implemented in this fashion. Then moving on to the second sour effect, first up is called Gluttons. This effect makes your hunger and thirst decrease 10% faster. With all 5 pieces, it maxes out at 50%. And I gotta say, I love that Bethesda are thinking of ways to create effects that synergize with each other. But fucking really? Really? Out of all the effects and mechanics in this game, you chose to synergize something with a food build effect. Come on, mate. This effect is out of order in all honesty. I mean, I see what they are trying to do. This will synergize with the Overaiders effect and the other one. But if I get this on any armor, I don't care what the circumstances are, I'm dropping it on the ground. Then we have Fireproof, which grants 25 fire resistance per piece you wear. Good. This was needed for a lot of reasons and I'm glad it's here. Not much else to say there. Same with this next one called Warming. This grants 25 cryo resistance per piece. Finally, we have a way to give ourselves some protection against frost damage. This is underwhelming ultimately, but it was needed, so I'm glad it's here. Then next we have Hardy, which makes you take 10% less damage from explosives. Alright, cool, I like it. It's appreciated. And I can see some applications where this could be useful, mainly in PvP, but in PvE situations, all you need is the Fireproof perk and explosions don't even hurt you anymore. So keep that in mind if you do roll this. It's kind of pointless. Then finally we have the 3rd star legendary effects. These are actually pretty cool, surprisingly. So first off, we have one called Doctors, which I fucking love. This effect is going to be a game changer for medic support builds. It makes your Stimpaks, Radaway, and Rad-X 5% more effective, which, like I said, is huge for medic builds. If you get this on a full set of armor, then that's 25% more effective Stimpaks that you can heal your teammates with, which is amazing. Thank you, Bethesda, for this little beauty. Good to see some actual dedicated healer stuff being added to this game, finally. Then we have a combo here. Not gonna read them all individually because this video is already too long, but we have effects called Burning, Electrified, Frozen, and Toxic. They all grant a 5% chance to deal 100 points of their respective elemental damage types when you're attacked by a melee opponent, which I love. This could be pretty useful if you get a full set of a specific one. I can see some potential combos here, which is good to see. Then finally, we have Dissipating, which is just disappointing. It slowly regenerates your radiation while not in combat. In all honesty, with the addition of the What Rad's legendary perk, and the existence of Radaway, I see this as a waste of space, and nothing else needs to be said. Okay, so yeah, that is all the brand new legendary effects that Bethesda has so far added into the game. Now that that's all taken care of, let's take a look at all the new balance changes that Bethesda have made so far with this update. And keep in mind, this is all subject to change. So as you can see here, we'll start off with the legendary weapon attribute changes. We've got things like Assassins, Exterminators, Ghoul Slayers, Hunters, Mutant Slayers, and Troubleshooters and Zealots. They've all had their percentages upped from 30% up to 50%. And in the case of Assassins, it's gone from 10% to 50%, which is massive. So if you're going to be using PvP weapons, I can see Assassins being, you know, a high priority now. But as far as the other ones, they just now, if you want to be, for whatever reason, specifically killing a specific enemy type, you'll be doing a lot more damage to them now. In the case of Berserkers, they've removed the damage debuff when your damage resistance is 80 or higher. The damage buff when damage resistance is between 1 and 60 has been slightly reduced. So overall, it's a buff. Berserkers is now more potent, which is nice. And we've got the Mutants effect. It's updated its functionality. Your damage is now increased by 5% per mutation that affects the character, up to a maximum of 25%. So if you've got 5 mutations, you'll get 25% extra damage, which is cool. It's, you know, better than what it was, but I feel like that should be a bit higher, you know, to be on par with other things. But anyway. Then we've got Nocturnal. Finally, this one has been buffed. They've removed the daytime debuff. Thank fuck. Thank you. And the nighttime damage buff has been increased. It doesn't state right here what it is, but the data miners have said that it now increases to a maximum of 60% extra damage at nighttime, which is pretty huge. Then we have the Suppressor's effect. This has basically been buffed from 20% to 25%, and instead of lasting 3 seconds, it lasts for 5 seconds. Not that big, no one really uses suppressors, and I still don't think they will, because it's not really that useful. Maybe if this was increased to like 30, 35, 33 or something like that, and lasting 10 seconds, I could see it be more useful, but honestly, I don't see the need for it. So yeah, still gonna chuck them in the bin. Anyway, moving on to the 2-star effects. Bash's has been increased from 40% to 50%. Hitman's has been increased from 10% to 25%, and this is multiplicative now, so that's actually pretty powerful. Yeah, these 2 effects are pretty good now. Bash's, I'm still gonna chuck them away. I don't care if it's been increased, they're still shit. Don't like them. But Hitman's, this is actually a really good effect now. And enhanced VATS. The VATS hit chance has been increased from 33 to 50, which is pretty huge. You're definitely going to be able to hit your shots much easier with that if you do want to use this effect. Personally, I don't, but it's good to see a buff on it. And then for the armor, we have Assassins. This has been increased to 15% instead of 8%, so a little bit more tanky when you're fighting humans and other players. Then we have Nocturnal. They've removed the daytime debuff, which is fucking awesome. And now your damage and energy resistance is increased by 10% per piece of Nocturnal armor during the nighttime, which is nice to see. Good to have a buff there. Now, so this has all happened. This is going to happen. This has already happened. It's in the PTS, but there are some things that I would like to see changed. I would like to see things like Stalkers being made into something fucking useful, because as it stands right now, they are just dog shit, dog water, useless effects, especially if they're on melee. Why is Stalkers on melee, Bethesda? Either remove the possibility for Stalkers to be on melee, or just overwrite the effect so that it's actually something useful and usable on both ranged and melee weapons. I don't know what you could do, but maybe something like this, Bethesda. Overwrite the Stalker's effect so that it gives you bonus sneak damage. That's cool. That fits the name, and that would be useful on melee and ranged weapons, so do something like that. So yeah, Stalkers, do something like that. And honestly, I know Berserker's got a buff, but it doesn't specify the amount of damage that it has been buffed overall, so it hasn't been changed there. It's still giving the same amount of damage, it's just, you know, the negate here is lowered. But overall, I think that should be improved and be on the same level as Bloodied. Make the overall maximum damage buff when you have 0 damage resistance 95% extra damage. Put it on par with Bloodied. It's just as challenging to play a Berserker's build, so why not? I mean, I think that's perfectly reasonable to increase it from, I think it's 50 to 95, just like Bloodied. And then this one's big. I don't see the Medics effect in here. Medics needs a buff, Bethesda. The range that your teammates need to be around you for you to actually affect them needs to be increased. A lot. Increase the radius of the Medics effect. I know a lot of you will agree with that. That needs to be increased, and potentially the percentage that it heals your teammates need to be increased. From 5% to 10% or something like that. I don't know, but it needs a buff. As well as Vampires, since we're on the topic of healing. That gives you a 2% heal per pellet and shot at the moment. But what I think it should be is it heals you based on your damage output. Because, well, I'll explain this. Well, as it stands right now, if you're using Vampires on a single shot weapon, like a black powder rifle, for example, that 2% heal per shot isn't going to be very useful. But it will be useful on things like an automatic combat rifle or a shotgun, because you can either pump out a lot of shots per second, or you can pump out a lot of pellets per shot. For obvious reasons. But if Vampires was changed to heal you based on the damage you deal, based on a percentage of the damage you deal, then it would mean that it's balanced across the board. If you deal a lot of damage in a single shot weapon, then you are healed fairly. If you deal a small amount of damage, but in a lot of increments via pellets or an automatic weapon, then you are healed fairly. So these few changes are what I would recommend that you add to this list, Bethesda. Fucking fix Stalkers to make it a sneak-based damage increasing thing. Buff Medics, buff Vampires to make it work on a damage calculator. And also buff Berserkers a little bit more. Yeah, That's my opinion on this. So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, that is all the legendary damage balance changes and new legendary effects that have been added so far to the PTS. If you agree with me or have your own points to make, be sure to post it to the official Bethesda forums, I'll link that down below, and give your feedback, maybe even link this video. After all, the point of a PTS is to gather feedback, so don't hold back. Anyways, that's going to do it for me. A massive shout out to all my current Patreons, thank you all so much for your continued support on the channel. If you'd like to be like them and have your name at the end of each video, be sure to check that out below, along with my other social medias. And be sure to subscribe and like the video if you did enjoy. I've been Tyr, and I'll catch you in the next one. Welcome to Valhalla.